Have you ever felt completely overwhelmed, like the weight of the world is on your shoulders? Imagine dealing not just with your own struggles, but with physical pain, chronic illness, or mental anguish that feels impossible to escape. What if I told you about a time when one person's presence brought hope and healing to thousands, changing lives in an instant? This isn't just a story. It's a historical account of a power so profound it drew massive crowds from all over the ancient world. Stick with me as we journey back 2,000 years to witness a movement that started in the small region of Galilee and spread like wildfire. Today we're diving deep into the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 4, starting at verse 23 from the New International Bible. This passage is a powerful summary of Jesus' early ministry, and it sets the stage for everything that follows. It shows us the three core pillars of his work: teaching, preaching, and healing. So let's read it together and unpack the incredible events that took place. Verse 23 says, Jesus went throughout Galilee, teaching in their synagogues, proclaiming the good news of the kingdom, and healing every disease and sickness among the people. Let's break this down. First, Jesus went throughout Galilee. He wasn't stationary. He was active, moving, going to where the people were. He didn't wait for them to find him in some isolated temple. He traveled through the towns and villages of the entire region. This tells us something crucial about his mission. It was for everyone, not just a select few. He was accessible. Next, it says he was teaching in their synagogues. Synagogues were the centers of Jewish religious and community life. This is where people gathered to study the scriptures and pray. By teaching there, Jesus was connecting with people in their familiar spiritual home. He was interpreting the scriptures in a way that was new and full of authority, showing them how the ancient prophecies were being fulfilled right before their eyes. He wasn't just giving his opinion. He was revealing a deeper truth within the text they already knew and cherished. Then the verse mentions he was proclaiming the good news of the kingdom. The Greek word for good news is euangelion, where we get the word evangelism. But what was this good news? It was the news that the kingdom of God, or the kingdom of heaven, was at hand. This wasn't a political kingdom with borders and armies. It was God's reign and rule breaking into the world, a reality where God's will is done on earth as it is in heaven. It's the news that redemption, restoration, and a right relationship with God were now available to all who would receive it. It was a message of hope, liberation, and a new beginning. And finally, the part that caused his fame to explode, healing every disease and sickness among the people. Notice the word every. The text doesn't say he healed some diseases or a few types of sickness. It says every. This was a demonstration of absolute power and profound compassion. The teaching and preaching explained the kingdom, but the healing made it tangible. It showed that the kingdom of God wasn't just a future promise. It was a present reality that brought wholeness to broken bodies and shattered lives. Now let's move on to verse 24. The impact of this ministry was immediate and massive. Verse 24 reads, News about him spread all over Syria, and people brought to him all who were ill with various diseases, those suffering severe pain, the demon-possessed, those having seizures, and the paralyzed. And he healed them. Think about the geography for a moment. Syria is to the north of Galilee. The news didn't just stay local. It crossed regional and even national boundaries. In an age without social media or the internet, his fame spread purely by word of mouth, carried by travelers, merchants, and the very people who had been healed. The stories must have been electric, filled with awe and disbelief. The verse gives us a specific list of the afflictions. People were bringing to Jesus various diseases and those suffering severe pain. This is a catch-all for the countless physical ailments that plagued people in the ancient world, where medical care was primitive at best. Imagine the desperation of families who had watched loved ones suffer for years with no hope of a cure. Then the list gets even more specific and intense. It mentions the demon-possessed. This points to spiritual and mental torment of the most extreme kind, conditions that left people isolated and feared by their communities. It also includes those having seizures, what we might recognize today as epilepsy or other neurological disorders, and the paralyzed, people who were completely dependent on others for their survival. These weren't minor issues. These were life-destroying, socially isolating, and often terrifying conditions. And what was the result when these people, the most desperate and hopeless cases, were brought to Jesus? The verse ends with 5 simple but earth-shattering words, and he healed them. There's no ambiguity. There's no record of failure. There's no he tried his best. It was a complete and total restoration. He didn't just manage their symptoms. He removed the root of their suffering. He gave them their lives back. This leads us to the final verse in this section, verse 25, which describes the incredible outcome of this ministry of teaching, preaching, and healing. Verse 25 says, "Large crowds from Galilee, the Decapolis, Jerusalem, Judea, and the region across the Jordan followed him." This verse is like a map of Jesus' spreading influence. It shows that his following wasn't just a local Galilean phenomenon. People were coming from everywhere. Galilee was his home base. The Decapolis was a league of 10 Hellenistic or Greek-influenced cities mostly to the east of the Jordan River, a largely Gentile area. This means his fame was already crossing cultural and ethnic lines. Jerusalem, the religious heart of Judaism, and the surrounding region of Judea were also sending people. This is significant because it shows that his influence was reaching the very center of religious authority. Finally, the region across the Jordan refers to the area of Perea. Essentially, people were converging on Jesus from all 4 points of the compass. They weren't just coming to be healed and then leaving. The verse says they followed him. They became disciples, students, and followers. They wanted to be near him, to hear his teaching, and to witness his power. He had ignited a massive popular movement, drawing people from every walk of life. So what does this all mean for us today? First, it shows us the holistic nature of Jesus' ministry. He cared for the whole person, their mind through teaching, their spirit through proclaiming the good news, and their body through healing. His compassion wasn't abstract. It was practical and life-changing. He met people at their deepest point of need. Second, it reveals the authority of Jesus. His teaching wasn't just good advice. It was a revelation of truth. His healing wasn't a medical trick. It was a demonstration of divine power over sickness, chaos, and even spiritual darkness. He showed that the kingdom of God is more powerful than any brokenness we experience in this world. And third, it's a message of incredible hope. The same Jesus who walked the roads of Galilee, who healed the sick and proclaimed the good news of the kingdom is still the same today. The Bible tells us he is the same yesterday, today, and forever. This passage is a powerful reminder that no situation is too difficult, no pain is too severe, and no person is too broken for his touch. The good news of the kingdom is still for us. It's the news that through him we can find wholeness, purpose, and a hope that transcends our circumstances. The crowds followed him because they saw something real, powerful, and full of love. They saw hope in person, and that same hope is offered to each and every one of us. Thank you so much for joining me to explore these powerful verses. If this message resonated with you or gave you a new perspective, I'd be so grateful if you'd give this video a thumbs up. It really helps others find this content, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel and ringing that notification bell so you won't miss our next journey into the scriptures. Your support means the world. God bless, and I'll see you in the next video.